Well, welcome back to the dormer. It's been a hot moment since we got together to talk. I'm not going to give excuses, but let's just say for a February wrap up, it sure looks a lot like spring, early summer out there. But we're going to pretend. So, hey, welcome to the end of February, early March. Welcome back. Let's talk about what was read in February. Mostly, this one's actually going to be more of two book reviews and then one fast one because I had two first in a series, and those are always a little easier to talk about and actually discuss without trying to give anything away. And then I got a second book coming in. So it was two physicals, it was one audio, and for the first time, and you can see I like my broken bindings. I mean, that's pretty much everything behind me except for some of the sub press. I actually had a DNF. So I had two physical completions, one audio completion, and a DNF. And then I had a couple books that weren't quite done in February, so they're going to count for March. So let's go to the intro, and then we'll talk about them. Welcome to the Dormer. I'm Michael. Thanks for joining me. If you've been here before, hey, welcome back. If you haven't been here before, well, hey, hopefully there's something interesting you'll find here. We're talking the February wrap up, even though it's not February or March. I'll tell you a little story about what happened. I actually got some internet poisoning. Well, and then some real world physical poisoning because I went to a conference and got sick. But we'll talk about that. And it just got me out of the habit of putting these up. Now the reading's still happening. This was only, let's see, two physical completions, one audio completion, and a physical DNF. I tried and I tried, but life's too short for some of that. Let's talk about book one. Book one is Water Moon, 2025 release. It was right at the beginning of the year. It's by Samantha Soto Yambao. Hopefully, I got that pronunciation right. And she is out of Manila, which makes her the first Filipino author that I've had on the Dormer. So yay, super awesome. Always love to add new flags to our list. So this was the Illumicrate January sub, an absolutely gorgeous book. And there's what great, really nice. I mean, this is a luxury book especially for the price point, because they're fairly inexpensive. I'll put in the spinner, as I like to do my little spinner things, and get them going. So again, this was read for the Illumicrate Discord. So when you subscribe to Illumicrate, or if you just go on any of their sites, they have a Discord that they always invite people into. And so they did a read along, and it's great, right? We did that for like the last hour between worlds. It was a great fun. So I thought, hey, it'll be fun. We'll show back up and do this one. Yeah, about that. Okay, we'll talk about it when we get to it. So this is Samantha's COVID project, right? You know, a lot of people like, oh, I'll learn how to do sourdough. I'll learn how to do this topic or this topic. She decided to do this book because she went to Japan right before COVID, loved it, and then COVID hit, and so she wrote this as like her little source of happiness. And so you can come across, right? It's very whimsical. This feels like Studio Ghibli. I took my daughter to a Studio Ghibli fan fest where they were showing one of the movies. They gave this book away. I mean, so even they know it feels like one of those. And my daughter actually won. I talked her into getting into the trivia contest, and she won it. Got the copy, and her copy actually has a boat on the inside. You take the dust cover, you can open it up, and there's like a paper boat, because that shows up in the story. Paper boat, and she won't do it because I won't buy her another copy because she's like, no, this is my shelf copy. All right, let's talk about the plot on this thing because this is actually really a bunch of fun. So this is about a magical tea shop, or at least that's where it starts. So it's a magical tea shop that actually reroutes troubled peoples who are going into in Tokyo. They're going into a ramen shop, and instead of getting ramen, when they open the door and walk on in, they end up in this tea shop. And the tea shop is for people who are troubled. And what's going to happen? the proprietors are going to try to trade away the memory of something traumatic in exchange for whatever they're giving them. It's like tea. I'm not a tea guy, so sorry, but I'm not trading my. I might still trade away some bad memories. So I mean, I get it. I totally get it. And so what gets fun is really what they do with them. This is way darker than it sounds, but that's a lot of Studio Ghibli. Like the one we just went to. Here's the kid going in, and oh, by the way, you showed up at the wrong city. Yeah, they might kill you if you don't get a job. It's like Human Christmas. All right, yeah, this place plays hardball, and so this place plays hardball too, as we're gonna find out. So the characters, we got Kai or Kishin, I think's his name, a Japanese American. He is a scientist, so he's working as a scientist in the United States, and he gets the position where they're going to have something that's going into this neutrino detector in outside Japan. So he goes to Tokyo for a few days beforehand, and he ends up going to get some ramen. Randomly decided he's going to get ramen, and he shows up at, guess what, the ramen shop that wants to trade. And then there's Hana. Hana is the daughter. So she is the young daughter. And if you check the cover, that's her. And that's him. And they're holding hands. So that's kind of a hint. Gives a little bit of a hint there. Gentle, right? So Hana's always been the helper. Her dad runs the facility. He runs the tea shop. And she's always the helper. Well, he wants to retire. And so eventually, one day, it's time for her to take over. And that's the day that, Kai rocks in and that mysterious threats come playing in because the dad disappears. And apparently, I mean, it seems like a little bit of a mafia type thing almost, where you don't get to leave. And he tries to leave. And they're coming for their memories. Isn't that weird, right? So, anyways, the story. This is pure Studio Ghibli. I almost said Ghibli. It's pure Studio Ghibli. Right? The first half of this was absolutely magical. It's definitely a hug in a book. I read this thing on a plane flight out to, I think I was going to Vegas on this one. So I was reading it on a plane flight out. It was definitely out west. I thought it was Vegas trip. And first half of the book, I read the first half because I'm in the Midwest, so it takes a little bit to get there. I read the first half of the book, so I'm way ahead on the reading because the way they tend to break it into like 8 chunks on Illumicrate, so you got like 8 days of reading, and I was done with half on day one because I'm stuck on a plane, and I'm a big dude on a plane, so there's not much room to move. So I just got a book in front of me. Some concepts that this is coming about. You get a few. Not only do you have the magicalism and the happiness that a Ghibli tends to bring, right? There's a certain like magical satisfaction that those bring. You also have a lot of concept of fate. And this plays out in tattoos, where people's lives are tattooed upon themselves in this mystery other world, because it turns out our tea shop is actually leading to another world where they are using these memories as kind of like a currency thing. And so the people running the tea shop, they're not getting rich off this. They're being told this is what you do or else. Which really then we also have a punishment aspect, which again sometimes shows up in Ghibli's. Like there are consequences to actions in theirs. You definitely have some great magic systems. In fact, that's one of the things they keep introducing. Like each chunk of the book would introduce this different magic system. It's like, oh, you're folding time. That's super awesome. And oh, you're doing this, and that's how you travel. And oh, you've got these ways to get through these magical gates. Super fun, super good on that side. Except it probably goes a little too far into the keep introducing, right? You generally don't reintroduce new things near the end. You generally need to start, I don't know, paying off some of this because the ideas were fantastic. In fact, I think some of these ideas are big enough to maybe support a book on their own, but it kept going. And then, of course, you have the romance, right? I mean, we saw the romantic characters on the front. They're holding hands in front of a moon, smiling, moon and or gate, smiling. So you have a romance. You have Kai, who really fell fast for that cute girl who is in a little bit of trouble. So he, right off the bat, he wants to help her almost immediately. And Hana, she's like, what is wrong with you? No. So she really doesn't want him to. It definitely starts very flirty. He is definitely flirting at her, and she's like, huh, no. And it was impossible because, again, she's been slated. She knows who she's marrying. It's slated on her tattoo, which the youth get. And then something adjusts, and so that she could. And then immediately there is the weirdest boink scene maybe ever. Like it comes from gentle flirty to titty in the mouth. Like that, and I'm talking like in a sentence. I was like, what the hell just happened? And I'm sitting on a plane next to somebody, and I'm like, oh, huh, is that what it's like when people read those scenes on planes? Because I've seen some people read some pretty interesting scenes on planes that I've been on. Which it was first time for me. I was like, huh. But I'm not like, I'm put back. Like, was there setup I missed? Nope. Nope. Showed up in a bath, and yeah, all of a sudden they're going at it, which happens. Let's talk about a little bit of the negatives on this. And again, some of these, of the two negatives that people tried to throw out. I mean, I have mine. Mine is, the ending was forced. That was a very forced ending. Like it's this fun ride, and you don't know how to finish it. So, boop, just ended. The weird sex, and I'm not a prude in my books. I actually root for my characters. Like, look, you're fighting for your life, and you're not getting some. I mean, come on, something. The equation's off there. It just felt very forced. It felt like it lost the plot near the end, which is sad because this is actually one of the things that happens. This book was a solid 4.5 for the first half. Like I'm like, this is magical. This is so happy, and then it just ended. And then the wrap up chapter really felt like somebody told them to write it, and it just didn't have anything. Let's go after the potential bad. This came out of the Illumicrate Discord discussion. The first one is something that actually does bother me, and I didn't know it until it was pointed out that there's a lot of Japanese in the book. Well, I don't speak Japanese. I don't read it well. I certainly am not fluent in it. So I didn't notice that the Japanese was also not fluent. If this was somebody's fanfic, if this was something that they self-pubbed, I might forgive. This is a published book. You didn't have somebody who's actually fluent double check this? And it says pieces, right? It's one thing for the Japanese American to do it, who was Japanese but then moved when he was young. Okay, that makes sense, right? I know some friends who had the same situation. They moved to the States, and they're like, yeah, people actually can tell. But the native, no. The second one actually kind of ruined the read along for me. And this is sad. Somebody decided they were going to get pissed. And I don't know why I let it affect me. I know better than to care about, oh, okay. I mean, there's always somebody, there's always somebody, oh, how dare you mention the Romans and not mention the bad they did to Greece? There's always those things. There was claims of racism in this book, and I don't see it. And now, granted, I mean, I don't look like I'd be the kind of person who would spot racism against Japanese people. But then I read it, and I read those, and I went to the Studio Ghibli Fest, and I'm like, exactly what they complained about was all over the Ghibli books, or Ghibli movies. Exactly. So I think in retrospect, what I should have done is go into Discord and go, and you're blocked. At the very least, ignore. If not block. Probably block. That probably would have been the better move for mental health, because I slowed, man. I tried to write this. I was going to do this one as a write-up 5 or 6 times. I actually wrote like a big script I was going to use. I've got a teleprompter I can use for some things. Obviously, I'm not doing that here. But I've got it, and I wrote it up, and I just kept having trouble with it, right? Because you try to do good on the internet. You try not to be a jerk on social media. And as an old white guy, at some point you got to go, a little bit of understanding comes into play. But the more I thought about it, and the more I saw other people respond to it and their thoughts, it turned into a lot of people just muting somebody, and I think they got banned.
I realized after the fact that I forgot to give a rating. So my end rating on this book was 3 3/4 stars. And the reason why I went with that is just the ending. Man, I wish the ending matched the energy and the fun at the beginning, but it did not. So 3 3/4 because I was definitely entertained towards the end, and then I grew at the end. Hopefully the author gets to grow a little bit, and the next one will come out better.
Book 2 of Darkness and Light by Ryan Cahill, who's Irish. He's out of Dublin, which is kind of interesting because, as we'll see in next month's wrap up, Dublin is actually a Viking city that the Irish then took. So it's kind of funny. This is from 2021, and this is book 2 of The Bound and the Broken. I did this on audio. I have since ordered 2 different copies on physical. I ordered the indie books whole set, including all the way through book 6 and all the novellas. So we have that coming from actually from the Broken Binding. I ordered them from them during when they released, and also I managed to get in and snipe one of the O'Dowd Broken Binding press editions. Now I'm not going to have the first book or the first novella in that list. Kind of sad, but they are going for ridiculous amounts, and I'm not paying it. So I have a solution. You'll see it eventually. It'll be a few months till you see it, but I have a solution for this. But let's talk about this. This is Bound and the Broken 2. And my first question, because Bound and the Broken 1 was kind of a generic Dragon Rider book. Oh, wow, you're going to go back and your parents are going to get killed? Wow, never saw that coming. And, oh, you found an egg and the egg's going to come up with you. Yeah, never saw that coming. And this is, man, I mean, it feels like generic every Dragon Rider book since Anne McCaffrey kind of goes up there, except maybe Temeraire, which we'll talk about in another video. But this definitely felt like, man, I did this in audio and then I did Dragon Rider, and man, they were so close. But this one, as we move along, this is book 2, and this is where Cahill really starts to shine. Right. I mean, I remember I wrote this on one of my Discords. I'm like, how did this get so much better? You're right. This book is great. The first book, meh. I was meh on it. This second book, okay, this is Malazan light. This is like Malazan without quite the a different pacing. It is definitely a slower pace, a lot more, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm gonna do. That kind of stuff. They're young characters as opposed to seasoned veterans, which Dubs gives. I'll give some backing on that. You know, your first fight is probably your first fight. Your first time facing a dragon breathing fire at you. Well, I don't know how many of us have had that experience. Haven't. But it's definitely fewer point of views at Malazan. It's going to be an easier entryway for a lot of people. Fewer switches of point of view too. But it still has that big scale. It feels big, and the books are big. Now, O'Dowd, fairly large, and then Cahill starts going up. Like these are Sanderson level large by the end. But O'Dowd itself, classic fantasy. I don't want to go too far into a second book in a series because, well, I mean, that seems unfair unless we're doing the spoiler version. It goes way harder than book 1. This turned me into happiness. Let's just, like, the easy way to say it is if you went and looked on content warnings, sometimes people call them trigger warnings. The term content warnings because, yeah, everyone's got their different tolerances, and that's fine. It's much larger. It got real. It kind of went grimdark for a while, and I like my grimdark, so that made me happy. 4.5 stars, man. And again, I bought 2 copies of this book, so that's when you know I'm putting my money down that this book is worth it. And so we're gonna run with that. The third book is The City of Brass. So it looks cool when I do that. It's actually a very cool edition. This is the bookish box edition, which comes with a really cool cover. I was actually aiming at this. Oh, they have alternate character art on the inside. A lot like Alcrate. Oftentimes I'll notice Alcrates. I'll like the character art on the inside. but then they don't put, like, usually they don't have the like the name of the book on it or anything. It's just like the artwork, this alternate artwork that they didn't letter and turn into a inside cover. But it's I mean, they look great, and so it gives a good feel for, like, you're like, oh, that's what's happening. All right. Anyways, this is City of Brass, 2017. So this is going back a ways now. It's like 8 years old now at this point. This is A Chakrabortis, who's out of the U.S. She's Queens, definitely Arabic inspired. She's Arabic heritage, and this is like really what she likes to read and study. So she's bringing that to us in book form. So yay! This is first one of the David Bod trilogy. So it's first book of that trilogy. And again, I've got the bookish box, beautiful. There is special editions coming from the publishers, so and they look good. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I mean, I already have good books edition, but they don't have a lot of art. Or I mean, they're pretty on the outside. They're not, they're not full art or anything. So maybe we'll see if the publisher goes the full art route. If so, I don't know. We might be voting them off the island. Anyways, this was for another Discord read along, but I'm trying to remember. I might be the one who suggested this. It's just because I already owned them. I definitely voted for it because I already owned them. And this was on the Twice Lucky After Hours Discord, which is a good book talk. Right? It's not tied to any particular vendor. It's just there for book talking. All right, so what is this? This is 18th century Arabic world with magic. So a lot of the Arabic legends are real in this world. It starts with the French occupied Cairo, which leads you to the first question of how did you occupy Cairo if Arabic magic is real? From the but real world. I double checked this. Napoleon invaded in 1798. So in the real world, he came in and was beaten in 1801. So it was just a 3-year run, and the British and the Ottomans teamed up to go after them and kick them out. Now Napoleon's goal here was to cut the British Empire off from their colonies. So cut them off from India, cut them off from whatever else they had that would go through Egypt, because a lot of times, even though the Suez wasn't built then, you would still have the shipments come to Egypt, and then they would be caravanned across and then up the Nile, which very similar to what the Romans did. The Romans, by the way, actually had built a canal at some point. Yeah, I know. I like my history a little much. This book, lots and lots of feel. It's very vibrant world building, a lot of religion, a lot of religious mention, a lot of religious talk, but it's probably the kind of thing where I see it because I'm not Islamic, but they probably see it when they read just anybody talking in typical Western stuff, because there's a lot of the religion flows down, whether or not you literally mean, like you say, oh God, you're not necessarily summoning a deity or asking them for something. A lot of times things just go through figures of speech. But it kind of felt that way. There's certainly characters in here who are very religious. Let's see. So City of Brass, you've got 3 characters that we're going to follow. You've got Nahari. She is a 20-year-old thief slash con artist slash healer. Wait, so she's a thief. She's a con artist. She likes to act, but she's actually good at the healing thing. In fact, perhaps too good. Maybe getting a little bit of help from something other than just her. This starts in Cairo, so she is in French. I totally just kicked the camera. I know normally I'd blame the dog. Normally it is the dog who's doing this, but he left for some reason when I started talking. So I don't know what he's up to, but he got ticked at me and left. I think it's because I'm on a stool to get some more of the shelves instead of on the chair down low where he can come maul me while I try to talk to you. Yeah, we'll get him in the video somehow. I'll drag him in here and get video for you, or get some stock pictures of the puppy. But anyways, Nahari. So thief, con artist in Cairo. She is doing a con, and she's pretending to talk to the dead, and well, something happens. Let's just say sometimes when you play with the magical in a magical world, well, she didn't believe it was real. But guess what? And so it draws unnatural attention. That's where we get the second character, which is Dara. He is the brooding Djinn. He is essentially the hot magical dude. Picture like I picture Jason Momoa, not the Wish TV version, but like the real version. And he is, yeah, hot magical dude. So she obviously likes that, but he's also arrogant, and he's also probably seems a little driven. But for some reason, he not only saves her, but he decides he's going to get her to the city of Brass, where her people need to be. Now, if you start going, wait, what's he up to? Yeah, because by the way, he might go badly for him if he gets there, but yet he's willing to take the risk, which makes you go, hmm. And then the last character, when we meet, by the time we, well, the characters actually meet by the time they get to the city of Brass, which is Ali, or Alzazad Al Quatani. Apologies. He is the son of the leader, and he is a warrior slash scholar. He is an absolute religious zealot, which always makes me not like the character. It's just a bad thing, which is funny because if I'm playing D&D, I'm almost always playing a nut job religious character. But yet he's also charitable. So he has a heart. He is taking care of people who he's getting himself in trouble doing this. In fact, is going to cause him trouble because, well, no good deed goes unpunished. Certainly not in fiction. So this is they finally get to the city of Brass. There's a big travel, right? Mahar Nahari and Dara travel to the city of Brass. A lot of fighting, a lot of stuff on the way. They finally get there, and then there's more stuff. And all the characters have history. All the characters have an agenda. And then we run into basically a while for her being a fish out of water. Because again, this is somebody who thought she was a human, or just thought she was a normal human. So we have the fish out of water thing, and it goes along. It turns out the book turned out to be enjoyable. The Discord turned out to be polite, which is always good. Definitely a little formulaic. So if you are like, oh, I don't know, I don't really want those kind of romantic touch points that I can see coming from way over there, well, okay. I still gave it a 4 star. I think it's a fair 4 star because I did keep thinking about it for a while. Like it's probably like a 3.75 that had some resonance. I always give bonus points for resonance. Like if I think about it in a good way down the line, then I'm like, okay, that's a good ad. Then we got one last one we got to talk about. Oh no. Oh no. The DNF. This is a hero born. Broken Binding Edition. Kind of a plain Broken Binding Edition. Maybe they set me up because, like, yeah, that's just a hardback. It's just a hardback. It feels just like a hardback. In fact, I'm going to steal back my. I might leave the bookmark in there in case I ever decide to go back for the punishment. This is A Hero Born. Is written in 1957 by Jin Yong, who is known as China's most famous modern writer. It is a wuxia, meaning, well, I think that's Chinese for hot mess. Okay, it's not, but you could have told me it was, because this is like a USA Network get up in the morning and watch kung fu movies that have just BS plot. Right? Oh, I shall defeat you with flying flamingo, and you shall fight me with crane against pink. Whatever crap they're saying. The whole book is that way, or at least as far as I got. No, no, I don't want to read half the book being you describing some ridiculous named item. And that's what it was. Look, I got this book, well, because I like to expand, and I'm like, oh, famous Chinese book. Seems like a good thing to go for. I like 3 body, so let's go for that. Mm. I hoped it would have been done differently, but it's just silliness. It's just silliness on top of silliness with ridiculous plots. And then ridiculous, super overpowered mecha fighters who then apparently lose. Yeah, I kind of do want to know what happened, but I don't want to know long enough to give up my reading time, my physical reading time for that. So who knows? Maybe at some point I'll see if there's an audio book and bang it out. But man, I did this because the Broken Binding Discord has a square that's very hard for me to hit. Namely, they have a square that is a book that was published before you were born. There's gray in this here beard, and it didn't come early. So there are only so many choices. In fact, this was the only special edition book that they had out. And so I was holding out and wasn't officially declaring it DOA until they announced Left Hand of Darkness, Ursula Gwynn, who is coming to save me. Thank you, Miss Gwynn. And I appreciate that very much. I was really hoping they would have another older book. I don't know, maybe 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea, maybe even like a Frankenstein to come save me. Left Hand of Darkness, oh, I'm happy. I'm thrilled for that one. Get a nice big copy of that book. And so that's coming up. In fact, it should be shipping, well, within the month. Maybe next month it'll ship. So I'll get it for this year. But for this, that's voted off the island. I'm not sure I'm putting it on my shelves. We'll see. I did suffer through it. I do like to keep my trophies. So I suffered through part of it. I think I got to 24%. At which point I said, no, I'm not enjoying it. And that was the thing. Between that and that BS with the Water Moon read along, I just hit it. And then being sick, because I actually sat down to film this once and started hacking up along. So, and that was like in March, early March. And so it just got set aside. So, friends, just one, make your reading about being happy. Make it about what you like. I mean, if you read for sadness and that's what you want because you're trying to experience different emotions, happy for you. If you read it just to learn, happy for you. If you read it for entertainment, again, happy. Right? There's no right way to be a reader, so long as you're not messing with somebody else's enjoyment. Don't go over and mess with their pond of happiness. No poisoning it. All right, and hopefully I didn't do that